The very first books I remember are The Little Engine That Could and Little Black Sambo, which I loved. It's not popular these days. Then I went through to high school. I was a very slow reader at school. But the first book I actually read that I actually read was in my first year of teaching. I know that sounds pathetic, but there you have it. I was teaching in a country school, 4-teacher country school, and it was raining. It was miserable, and I was all by myself. And a friend had given me The French Lieutenant's Woman, and I thought, what the hell? So I read it, and it was great. And I told her so, and she said, oh, well, if you like that, you'd like... And she told me some other things, and I started reading. I mean, I read the stuff in high school, various Shakespeare's and the literature that they assigned to us, but it wasn't literature the way I read it. So that's when I started reading. And after I'd been teaching for a bit, I went back to do a master's, and because I realized I didn't know anything. Then I was talked into doing a PhD over here, and I went to University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana, where they happened to have the Center for the Study of Reading. And I was recruited to there, and there began my path of studying reading. I guess now, nowadays and in the meantime, I read a lot of research and so forth. And nowadays, I'm actually retired from the university, but being emeritus, I still have access to the electronic library and so forth. And I don't know how I would survive without that. It is so wonderful to be able to follow lines of work, to be able to, I can spend a day just going down rabbit holes in the electronic library. I read, so I read a lot of research, but I read, some magazines, New Yorker, and so forth. And the only other reading I do is I have recitation evenings at my house sometimes, parties. So people, 30 or so people, come over and spend the evening reciting poetry that they've learned. So, so that's that piece. That's my reading nowadays. It's my history of reading, I guess. I have a project that's been running for quite a while with my colleague Gay Ivey, with 8th grade students. Well, we actually followed them through to 10th, 11th grade, but that has to do with engagement, to see what happens when students actually are given the opportunity of when their instruction focuses on their being engaged. And fantastic changes take place. I mean, it's transformational for the kids individually and collectively. And when they get older, when they've been out of that class and go into high school and they're assigned books to read and so forth, and they go back to the same old, they remember 8th grade as clear as a bell. They remember who they spoke to, who they had conversations with, which books they read, where they sat. They remember the conversations. They remember it fondly. I remember interviewing a kid, Hispanic kid, and he was talking about it in high school, so a couple of years out from 8th grade, and he started talking about, he came in with a fairly blank face, and then he started talking about 8th grade. As he talked about it, just big grin grew over his face. I said, so you're smiling, good memory? And he says, yeah, it's the best. 2 years out, so Yeah, so that's one project, and we're putting together a book now. We've done a number of papers out of it, but we have lots and lots of interviews with the kids, and so we'll do that. And I have another project that I've been having conversations with a group of teachers over a few years about, following on from my books that they've been reading, and they're just wonderful teachers. They've just been doing some great things, sort of working from the kind of things I had written about, and they've extended the work beautifully, and they've asked if I would help them write about it. I had wanted them to write about it, but they feel more comfortable if I'm involved in the writing, so we're writing that book, and it's about the remarkable things that they actually do. It can't really be called research. I'm just helping think through the things that go on in their classrooms, and some of those things just turn out to be truly remarkable. So yeah, so those are my two writing projects for the moment. Yeah, there are several things happening that are really a bit terrifying to me. I mean, the one thing is the ideological nature of thinking about literacy instruction. It's just people, I don't know how to say this, what to avoid. Literacy instruction is just been polarized and scripted, and I think the scripting is a big part of essentially the dumbing down of teaching. Teachers are being teaching is being viewed as increasingly a mere technical enterprise that can be routinized through scripts. In a number of states, politicians are busy removing requirements for teachers to make teachers less competent, and it's a spiral that is a terrible spiral, because a friend, one of the teachers who's working on the book with me, has been watching what happens here, and they've just removed the requirement, or they're in the process of trying to remove the requirement to have teachers have continuing professional development. And she looked to see which other profession actually has no requirement for professional development. The only one she could find in her state was tattoo artists. I mean, it's funny, but only for a second. So that's really disturbing to me. I mean, I think that's the problem, that teachers are put in a position of being hurried along so that they are not able to spend time with kids slowing down and being able to attend to and observe and appreciate the kids' thinking. So I those things trouble me no end. There's also the problem of privatizing education, which I think is a serious problem. I think you cannot run a democracy without a strong public schooling. It's just not possible. you can't have people voting who are not capable of discriminating, discriminating fact and fiction. So I see in the efforts to undermine education a consistent effort to undermine democracy. So those things keep me awake.